So today I want to talk just a little bit about I googled this term scientific belief versus truth because science is great, but still it is theorems. It is theories, hypotheses, conjectures. Unless we get to the point where we really can repeat the experiments and get the same results over and over, and then what happens is the probability that the scientific belief that we're testing is true increases. We can get pretty close to 100%, but we can never be 100%. That's why it's always scientific belief, but the probability that the belief is true has variable probability. I want to talk a little bit about I haven't prepared this. I just kind of googled it and went into pictures to see what's in here. So I want to talk a little bit about white swan, black swan, which basically is a concept in science when you want to prove something. For example, you want to prove that there are only white swans. Then that's our belief, right? We believe there are only white swans. How do you prove that? Well, we have to find a black swan in order to prove that the opposite is true. Because if we find a black swan, we can state, our belief was false. And as you can see in this picture here, most of the beliefs are false. They fall outside the truth sphere. So let's say that we have a white swan, and let's just say that we've done a lot of experimentations and surveys, and over 10 years, 100,000 people, we have collected data, and it shows us in a certain direction that people are saying, well, there are only white swans. So we put that belief in here. Now, we cannot say that just because we have seen 1 million white swans that there are no black swans. We can say that, well, the probability that there are only white swans is higher the more white swans we find. But that doesn't mean that our belief that there are only white swans is the truth. So if we keep finding white swans, we have to actually find an infinite number of white swans in order for the probability that there are only white swans is 100%. Which means that the belief that there are only white swans is the truth. Now, for example, I didn't want to go there, but I'm just going to make an example out of the tobacco industry. There was belief that let's say the white swan is smoking causes lung cancer. That's a belief, right? That could be true, that could be false. We don't know. So we do a lot of experimentations and years and years and years of trial and error and clients' testimonies and so forth. And expert witnesses, and we find out that the probability that smoking causes lung cancer gets higher. That doesn't mean it's the truth. We still don't know, right? Not 100%. I mean, there's a lot of different factors that plays in lung cancer. I mean, there's diet, exercise, genetics, geographic area, type of work, personal habits, idiosyncratic, habitual behavior, and so forth. You can't really just isolate, well, but it's done. The scientific community now accepts that smoking causes lung cancer. When the scientific community accepts it, boom, it's put into law that there's non-smoking here and there, and that's the power of the scientific community. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that the cell phones or wireless devices are the new cigarettes. And let's say that we have a belief, conjecture, pure hypothesis, pure theory, and we believe that wireless devices cause the blood cells to form what's called rouleau formation, which is basically they stick together in stacks instead of being single and flowing in the bloodstream, which is the natural healthy state, because at the capillaries the blood cells can only pass through in single line. So if you have a rouleau formation with it stacked together, the blood cells tend to get stuck at the capillaries, and it slows down your blood circulation. And it's seen often in cancer patients, the rouleau formation, for example. And anyway, the belief now is wireless devices causes the blood cells to form rouleau formation. Pure belief. How are we gonna test that? We let the scientific community deal with that. Doctors, microscopists, blood analysis, and so forth. The thing is, how do you isolate? There's so many factors, again, similar to the cigarette smoke. There's so many factors. We cannot for 100% say in all people that that's what's going to happen. But the more cases we get in of doubling in aggressive brain cancer in men over 10 years, increased rates of children with cancer, and I mean there's an endless list of cases similar to the tobacco industry. But that doesn't prove it. It's not the truth. It is still a belief. But the more cases and the more scientific evidence that is collected, the higher the probability that this belief that wireless devices causes blood cells to form rouleau formation will be accepted by the scientific community as the truth. Now, but let's now say, in order for us to prove once and for all that wireless devices causes rouleau formation, we have to go out and find a black swan, which is wireless devices does not cause rouleau formation. In other words, wireless devices have no effect on blood cell coagulation. I would say stickiness, but that's maybe a little unscientific. Anyway, so how do we prove that? How do we prove that's what we have to look for, right? Where do we start looking? So that's why I googled this: scientific belief versus truth. Now, that was just an example. I mean, you could also let's see, you can say like if you want to prove that exercise causes rouleau formation in your blood to dissolve, that's another thing you can work on. This is funny. So I'm pretty much done here. Where did these 3 monkeys go? No see, no hear, no talk. So the problem with the wireless device industry is that they make lots of money. And here they are. No, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear that wireless radiation causes rouleau formation in the blood cells. Oh, no, we don't want to see the scientific evidence. No. What about finding some research crews that can prove the opposite? That actually wireless devices does not cause rouleau formation in the blood. Rouleau formation in blood. So basically, that's where money comes in. Oh, what is this? I think I should go running or something. There's a lot of runners out here. Anyway, I must say that the wireless device industry has certain points. There's lots of factors involved. It's not just like because you use a wireless device you will get sick or whatever. If you don't exercise, you don't eat a healthy diet, if you have a lot of angry, sad, or uninspired thoughts, you can also have certain detrimental effects to your well-being. So if we have to put this in the light of the what it says in the Third Testament, basically the Third Testament would is train you how to think logically when you read it. This is the volume 1 through 7 of Levis Boat, the Book of Life. And if you click here, read the work online and I want to search something like wireless devices, but this is probably not gonna show because it's old school, was written in 1930s, 40s, 50s, from 1930s to the 1980s. So they didn't have wireless devices that time. So that's why the focus of reading the Third Testament is thoughts. So let's try like write healthy thoughts and nothing. Oh, because I can't spell. Healthy thoughts. Healthy thoughts. That's spelled right. Nothing. Whole words. Okay, let's just healthy thinking then. Snag, there's a little speed hump on their road to healthy thinking. Okay, let's just write thoughts. That should do it. Okay, 149 sentences. So, and then we can read here. Let's just read the first one. This, nah, that's kind of out of context. So, thoughts, okay, thoughts. How about health? Oh, I think I know. If you do microcosm, because in the Third Testament, microcosm is your body, physical body. One sentence. Let's try read it. No matter whether we look into the light of the sun or the darkness of night, whether we behold the enormous sun and star systems of the macrocosm, or will our cosmic senses carry us into the decreasing minutiae of microcosm, it is all the same whether shapes, figures, or colors are passing before our sight, or whether thoughts, feelings, joys, and sorrows come about during our experience of life. It's all X1, which is the supreme element of existence, the Godhead's own all-embracing I. Okay, it squeezed me. It is all X1, the supreme element of existence, the Godhead's own all-embracing I, which we are confronting, separated from ourselves only by the colored spectacles of the principle of perspective. Okay, that's not really what I wanted, but you kind of get my drifts here. I wanted to thoughts. How about health? No, thoughts and vibration. There's one. But the energy of this past, which has been transformed into thoughts or consciousness, continues to vibrate in the now in such a way that it forms more or less hazy images or signs of a continuation of these vibrations beyond the now. That was interesting. So if you find something interesting, it's not really related to health, but let's just, for sake of example, oh, it goes forward. Well, I lost it. I have to go back. I'm going to do a new search here, because I want to find Excuse me, I'm getting a little turtly here. Okay, that was thoughts vibration. How about thoughts? Thoughts. Mm, effect. And here we have thus a new proof of the fact that even if there are beings that cannot take part in punishing and taking revenge, there will always be enough beings that have the heart and mentality to attend to all the robust measures, the karmic effects or causes that must and shall inevitably occur within a society of beings that still do not love their neighbor as themselves, but in their thoughts, nature, and appearance more or less uphold or swear by the law of punishment or revenge. Well, that was a run-on sentence if there ever was one. When Martino started writing, he had no experience writing at all, and he would just write without periods because he thought that would be easier for people to understand. No interruption, just like or like a pure stream of consciousness, train of thoughts. But anyway, he corrected that because he got feedback that people couldn't really understand what he was saying. But let me see here. What can we do? Thoughts and how about happy thoughts? Let's see. While an individual in the first flock, because of its natural or as yet innate attitude to think only the thoughts of the flock, is extremely happy to subject itself to the dictator who represents nothing other than the thinking of this flock, and therefore becomes the ideal, the leader, the king or autocrat for the individuals of the flock. The mentality of the individual who thinks individually or independently will be almost crushed by the thinking of the dictator or the flock. Yeah, okay, that's still not. Huh. So maybe I'll leave this for somebody else because I know it's in there somewhere. I read it. But of course I read it in Danish. So, but basically he says that thoughts are vibration, and vibration charges your blood. So let's how about thoughts and blood. Think how good it is that murderous thoughts for the most part have to be worked out in stone and steel before they strike flesh and blood, and that people's entire way of life, whether on land or on water or in the skies, is conditioned by atmospheric pressure. Well, that wasn't it. Okay, thoughts. Charging. Okay. Anyway, so maybe it's not in one of the untranslated works because this is only volume 1, 2, and 4. So when he talks about thoughts being having an effect on the blood, he says thoughts magnetize your blood or charges your blood because thoughts are vibration, and the vibrations that your thoughts have will charge your blood. Maybe it's because of when the blood's running through the brain, and if the thoughts are in the brain, I mean that's a common scientific belief that thoughts are in the brain, right? But actually there's another guy who talks about thoughts and blood, and it's Dr. Robert Young. He does a comparison. Well, he talks about 3 T's that's good for your health: thoughts, time, and toxicity. I mean, that's the 3 things you have to think about when you think about health. And coaching, medical imaging, cerebral surgery, microscopy, weight loss. I'm trying to find. He has this whole thing about. Anyway, he uses certain research articles to state that, for example, microwave radiation causes acidity in the body, and then what is it with the blood? His thoughts. Yeah. When I met him, and I asked him about the thoughts with 3 T's, and he said, I asked him, what is the most alkaline thought you can think? And he said, no thought. And I said, that's unacceptable, because how can you define thought as no thought? I mean, he's a really nice guy. I love the guy. Oh, there's some music coming on. This is him. Why am I here? Okay, that's not really what I wanted. Oops. Anyway. I asked him, what is the most alkaline thought you can think? And he said, no thought. Well, no thought is not a thought. By definition, no thought is not a thought. How can you define hot as not hot? It's kind of the same thing as defining white swan as not black. I mean, it works a little bit, yes, logically it would work, but if you really want to define the thought, like according to the Third Testament, you would say thought is a vibration. Thought formations. Let's read this one. Oh, book 1. Thought climates. Now this is interesting. There's actually a symbol that explains the thought climates. So if you read this one, fourth section, the thought climates and people of the business world. The nature of advertising constituting economic taps and pitfall. This should be traps, yeah. The nature of advertising constituting economic traps and pitfalls. The business world undermining itself. People who feel their existence threatened by the New World impulse and their unfounded opposition to it. So that's a thought climate. So let's go and find the symbol for thought climates. We have a lot of bikers out here. So I'm going here, literature, cosmic symbols, and there's number 1, number 2, it's number 33. Oh, here it is. Animal and human thought climates. So I don't know what happens. If you click on it, nothing happens. So it's kind of a small. I don't know why it should go big if you click on it. Anyway, let's read it. The animal and human thought climates, symbol number 33. Basically, I don't know if you can see this, and probably not, but you know, it looks like this. You have all the thought climates here, different thought climates, and here on the left you have from orange to yellow. There's more and more yellow in the orange, which means more and more compassion in the beings. If you read it like horizontally, there are beings on different evolutionary stages. Like down here in the orange, we have animals, and then you have like humans up here when the yellow starts to come in, and then up here when all yellow, it's like you don't incarnate anymore. You don't have a human body. You're a spiritual being beyond a reincarnation. And you have the reincarnation principle out here on the right, but it's like, anyway, you got the pole principle, green and yellow here. These two is a man and a woman, from one pole to double poleness. But that's not the point. It's too small for you to see that, so I'm just gonna read this and call it a day. The transformation of the psyche from animal to human being. Terrestrial human beings live like synthetic beings in the transitional stage between animal and human being. The animal part of the consciousness is the cause of everything that we call evil, while the human part of the consciousness is the cause of everything that we call good. The animal state, with its rivalry struggle to obtain the favors of the partner, is the background to all forms of darkness. In this zone, darkness culminates. But the greater the degree of darkness, the quicker the being becomes satiated with the traditions of the animal kingdom, and this expulsion from the animal paradise continues right up to the point where the human being is perfectly humane or loving towards its neighbor. This transformation of the consciousness takes place through many reincarnations. The steps on the violet ladder-shaped figure. See, this is much better than me trying to explain it. The orange and yellow steps to the very left of the symbol symbolize various stages. The pure animal stage is at the very bottom. Above that, the transformation from the animal to the human being, and the true human stage is at the top. See the same yellow wedge in symbol 36. It is symbolized that the human consciousness is born in the animal kingdom as a result of suffering and what Martinez calls the pole transformation, which is described here and in symbol number 35. All living beings have a masculine pole and a feminine pole. In the animal kingdom, the being to appear as either a male or a female being, while the finished all-loving human being is without gender. The shifting of the balance between the poles is called the pole transformation. The symbol is explained starting from the right. By its side can be seen a vertical figure with a green stripe, the masculine pole, and a yellow stripe, the feminine pole. Where the feminine pole, yellow, is latent, we are dealing with a purely male being. After this culmination, the feminine pole develops to an equal balance with the masculine pole. What was previously an animal is now a human being without gender. This state of being, a true human being, is symbolized above the thick horizontal violet strip. Next to this figure, there is a yellow-green figure which represents the transformation of the female being of the animal kingdom. Here it is the development of the masculine pole, green, that makes the animal into a human being. This new state is an inner ability of sympathy that grows organically in the individual until it includes all individuals irrespective of gender. In the perfect finished human kingdom, above the yellow-green horizontal line, the all-loving humans does not appear in masculine or feminine organisms. Friendship is an example of the beginnings of neighborly love that glows between people. That's a little spelling mistake. This increasing ability to feel sympathy also has to be cultivated to the point of neighborly love. In the beginning, it is easily confused in not so fortunate ways with the moral of marriage. The many unhappy marriages, the many deserted partners and children, and other painful sexual states of today do not express moral genius. But creation continues, and when the new ability to feel sympathy has reached its finished state, it can only bring joy and blessing to the being itself and its neighbor, irrespective of gender. Then the being is protected from suffering and losing its way, also in the sexual matters. Only happiness and blessing follow in the trail of the all-loving godlike human being. The birth of the human consciousness, the evolution from animal to human being, is symbolized by the 12 vertical figures. We can follow the initial stage, the combination, and the degeneration of these thought climates and see how they connect with each other. From the right, the figures symbolize the following. 1. Terrestrial human organism. From an ape-like coarse physical body, the organism is transformed into an increasingly refined human external appearance. 2. The killing principle, from sacrifices and killing to war and meat-eating. 3. Ways of thinking that kill, such as the struggle to procure food and a mate, hatred and jealousy. 4. Arrogance, ambition, boastfulness, megalomania, and other forms of self-conceit, also in spiritual areas. 5. The consequences of the pole transformation in the form of the degeneration of marriage and other forms of suffering due to the sexual effects of the pole transformation. Together these are called the birth pains leading to the great birth. So basically these numerations are the the bell curve kind of they start at one point, they grow, has a climax, and then they go back to extinction. So these are the thought climates. 6. Neighborly love, beginning with the humane religions and ending with pure spiritual science. 7. Art in the animal kingdom, the celebration of hunting, fertility, and warlike ideals, and later the worship of marriage, heroes, and religions based on belief. And I believe this actually also is science, because science, unless it is true science, is still a type of religion. There then follows a degeneration in the form of the transition into the art of living, universal love. 8. The religious principle. The lighter the yellow, the more it is characterized by the pursuit of genuine humanity, the light that guides us. 9. So, how is this different? The religious principle. Okay, so I guess there's gradients. I guess the thought climates evolve within the categories. 9. Psychic sensory abilities, clairvoyant abilities, etc. develop out of the highly sensitized ability to sense what is about to happen that is found among animals. Black magic, etc. also comes into this category. In the West, these abilities were primarily blocked out by the Inquisition. We can learn to differentiate between low and high psychic abilities. The correct use of prayer is a high psychic power. White magic, see symbol number 22. And that's symbol number 22 is the mystery prayer, or it's symbol number 22. 10. The Great Birth. With cosmic consciousness, terrestrial human beings become conscious of the universe and all its kingdoms, symbolized by the colors surrounding the five-pointed star. That sounds like a nice thought climate. 11. The comfort of the Holy Spirit in the form of cosmic beings, and with the uppermost cross high cosmic beings such as Christ. With universal love as an organic faculty, there will no longer be any need for humans to be born of women. They will increasingly gain the ability to materialize themselves. Jesus materialized himself several times for his disciples after he was crucified. He was also in this regard in the image of his Father, as it is said, for he spake and it was done. He commanded and it stood fast. Psalms 33:9. 12. The last thought climate. The double-poled true human body of the future, through which every meeting with another finished human being is experienced as a sexual pleasure and bliss, an experience of the highest fire, symbolized by the flames at the very top. The flames symbolize the highest fire, God's all-determining will, spirit, and power behind all manifestations. As can be seen from the very small size of the flames between the male and female beings, the highest fire in the animal kingdom is reduced to its minimal stage of development. See the next symbol. Okay, so then it goes on to number 34 and so forth. And that's all, folks. Talk to you later.